And then we jump on over to the last case in our series that's officially on our agenda list, ChrisCave from Nevada. Chris, can you please give us an update on what you're doing with your case, the progress that's coming along with it? I understand you just passed a major hurdle here. You got a big stack of paperwork completed and in the mail. Can you give us an update there?
Well, let's call it the hostile environment that I'm encountering here in the federal courts in Las Vegas is just beyond the pale. It's like I have adversaries there, but both the opposing counsel and the court working together. There's a magistrate judge who is tyrannically refusing to recuse herself in spite of the fact that I provided a case number where she showed particular discriminatory, retaliatory, class-based animus against myself in particular, which destroys any appearance of fairness, neutrality, or the ability to act without animus against myself. She accused me blatantly in their federal court library of being a barred licensed attorney and amended my bar number, which I have none because I've never belonged to the bar. I was there as a pro bono witness, observer, and documenter of what was going on in that particular matter for somebody else, and had that experience with her. And she is obviously in the pockets. Las Vegas courts here are known for having wide open pockets. That means the judges are open to taking bribes. And some of them are actually under the control of the state actors, county commission actors, and are obviously receiving unjust compensation and therefore are very likely involved in protecting the corporate licensees that run the county here and the agents of government that are abusing their discretion violently, ultra-virus as it is. And I have a grand jury complaint that I'm still deciding where to put it in. Now, I had the clerk of the court down there last week who himself, whenever I asked him about getting a letter to the ex officio clerk for the federal grand jury, told me that I had to put my complaint through the U.S. Attorney's Office to do that. And I find that antithetical because the grand jury is a separate and supposedly independent agency without the federal court system, although they operate in the same building, supposedly. They are supposed to be independent of the judiciary and the bar, and just an agent of we the people in order to hear these complaints whenever those bad actors have acted outside scope, fear, and color of law. I also put in a document to the actual judge in the case, and I have not received an answer from him, my opposition and my request for reconsideration of the dismissal of a key individual in the case that cannot be dismissed. They did a copy-paste carbon copy of the two different supposedly separated parties, which are working clearly in league together, because one had copy-pasted word for word except for the names in the so-called 12B6 that they had put in, and I noted that with particularity. And so, you know, in this case, they bifurcate the case to duplicitously increase and double workload for myself, which has no assistant counsel whatsoever. I don't have a clerk. I don't have an office. I don't have a case management plan. I'm just one man, along with help from above, fighting against the principalities of evil with everything I have, trying to receive justice in an unjust situation. And that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I am putting together right now a memorandum of understanding to educate court clerk to their duties and citing several different Title 18 violations they have when they obstruct access to the grand jury and try to force you to go to a barred licensed attorney esquire, which is not fair, neutral, unbiased, because as others have pointed out on this call, they're in a seditious conspiracy to undermine the government, the Republic of the United States of America, and we the people, and have basically seized control of the whole federal judicial court system, therefore making it a weaponized offensive attack on we the people, and we're seeing this carried out by the extreme rump so-called Supreme Court, which has been taken over, and with compromised judge that's at the top of that thing, Roberts. Yeah. He is obviously involved in pedophilia on a global basis, therefore is compromised and unable to enforce the will of the people, and subjugated himself by being compromised by his pedophilic co-practitioner. And that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Chris. Comments or questions to Chris here on his case?
If I may, this is David. But I was going to ask Chris if he has any knowledge to the 18 U.S.C. Section 3332 regarding this federal special grand jury. Chris?
I hear you. I was not familiar with that citation, but I am looking through some documents now, and the 3332, a special federal grand jury, is exactly what I have articulated in writing without having that reference, which I will certainly look up and avail myself of the aspects there too. Thank you.
Well, let me tell you what it does. It basically says it gives instruction to the U.S. attorney or any federal prosecutor, as the statute is referencing, and it basically gives them the mandate under law that if any such citizen comes to them with first of all, it comes in two parts. First part says that the special grand jury has the duty to inquire about, give us your crimes for this district. They have the duty. So there's an outstanding call for crimes to be reported to them. Then the second part of that statute, that code, basically tells the U.S. prosecutor or any federal prosecutor that they have the job of bringing bringing crimes to the special, reports of crime to the special grand jury, even by the public. And so they have the job of, if you go to the prosecutor, now I've done this in Michigan, and there's a caveat to this, but if you, as any member of the public, the population, goes to report a crime that's occurred within that district, and you take it to the U.S. attorney and you tell them that you want to go to take this to the special grand jury, they have the duty to do that. One of the caveats is that they have the job to do that. So they're supposed to take you and your report of the crime to the special grand jury, and then they're supposed to also give their opinion as to whether or not what should be done or could be done, and they give that as well. But they're supposed to bring your report to the grand jury. What I found that they do in Michigan to cover this stuff up and to keep you away from it, keep me away from it, is that they tell you, you go to the U.S. attorney and you say you want this. I've even cited 18 U.S.C. Section 3332 and demanded access. And they've told me to go to the FBI and to get an investigation done first. They've just shined me on and done nothing. I'm saying we'll get back with you later. They never do. This type of thing. So this is what to be aware of, but that statute does make it incumbent upon them to do exactly that. I yield.
I do know, Dave, and I appreciate your comments relative to that, and I've seen evidence of that also. I had actually contacted the U.S. Marshal early on in this egregious abuse of deadly force against myself, and Title 18 U.S.C. 1117, conspiracy to commit murder, and so and other crimes also. And I tried to contact, I wasn't comfortable with the FBI because I've observed the criminal aspects of them for quite a long time. That's back when Comey was the head of the FBI, and I explained to the U.S. Marshal that I had no confidence in their ability to do anything. He wanted to know why I hadn't taken it there. They were actually involved in my false arrest and ambush interviews posed as going to investigate crimes. And they had targeted me also. And the state itself is also involved, so I feel like it's really critical that I remove this case out of Las Vegas and Nevada in general, perhaps to the Southern District of California, San Diego Division, where they investigated the Puana versus Kealoha case over there in Honolulu, Hawaii, which is substantially similar, although the San Francisco FBI also did the Luis Huizar case up there, one of the city councilmen who abused his governmental powers. And so they seem to be very selective in what cases they'll take, discriminatory perhaps because they don't like to take conservatives or Christians cases. They want strictly other classes of people that have a specific interest in them prosecuting, as opposed to being equal access to justice. There's selective access to justice. But these are things that I have certainly noticed and taking part in, and that's kind of why I'm trying. I appreciate your contribution there on that. In fact, I even have a copy of a U.S. federal grand jury complaint with 3 different individuals. The last one's Pauline Nally in the District of Georgia. I also have one I have on my front page that we're talking about. If I'll go back to the front of it here where I was at before I started talking. This is from the so-called Unified United States Common Law Grand Juries in Bahia, New York, and We the People of that district that has some very useful information in it that I'm using in a copy and paste to assemble my documents. But I'm always glad to take and entertain or communicate with others who are trying to defend against these criminals masquerading as public servants, imposturing, if you will, and therefore they are violating Title 18 U.S.C. 1346 and failing to provide honest services. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.